tested.
Says I have an emergency at 625 Main Street.
Okay.
Have you actually tested it to make sure that that whole process goes around and is actually reliable and works?
Okay, I understand your question. I'll just explain from the 911 center side. We added the addresses into the system. We can test that the addresses will pop up and it'll say Roosevelt. I'll finish, and it will say on Roosevelt Island. As far as have we tested it, did we send police cars, did we send ambulances? Anytime there's an emergency, you can consider that will be a test anytime we respond. And I'm assuming that we've had several thousand phone calls from here, from Roosevelt Island to the 911 system throughout the year, so it's probably being tested even as we speak.
When was this actually set up?
With the, oh, this is very new. Like I said, just this week. What date? Okay, it just happened yesterday. Okay. Well, we test the addresses, just to explain that again. We test the addresses in the system. If you had a 911 response, which I'm assuming it probably did happen today, there's probably been, then that's a test in itself. And if, no, you should never call, you're just not allowed to do that. We just don't, okay.
Matt, you're next.
Thank you all for being here. This is very useful. I heard something tonight that I had not heard before, that not only are street numbers being used as locators, but also identifying places, Lighthouse Park, South Point, Field. These are critical places that do not have numbers associated with them. It suggests to me that the Cornell Graduate Tech Center is not a single place. It is over 12 acres. It is 5 buildings so far. You've got the Residential Center, Bloomberg Center, Co-location Center, Utility Building, and possibly a hotel and conference center as well. Each of these are unique places that should be identified by their names, not by addresses, given that there will be addresses associated with them. And I hope that will be done.
Okay. We will work closely with the Cornell Center, and yes, I spoke with him prior to the coming up here. We will work closely. We will drill down on all those details and get it as good as we can.
Oh, great.
Just very simply, it sounds like there are a lot of things that are new date that have been put in recently. So is there, what kind of follow-up, sort of, I think people, as is what someone said, people have been here for 40 years, so, and this is just happening now. So is there any concept of having a follow-up meeting or something to say, in the interim, what has happened, how has this been implemented, and has it been successful?
Yes, absolutely. It would be our pleasure. We spoke with Susan Rosenthal and Jack McManus, and they already asked us for this, and we will follow up. And I will also have instructors here to give a class or give advice whose whole job is training, who would be much better at it than me as far as explaining what to do. So we will be here for a follow-up.
Maybe train the callers.
To basically give pointers, just to help out. It's helpful for both of us.
Can I just jump in for 1 second? So in terms of feedback, every single time anyone calls 911, that is an opportunity for feedback. If you are happy with your 911 call, if anyone, hopefully God willing, you do not ever need to call 911, but if you do, if it works, please contact my office. Please contact REOC to let them know it's working. If anything doesn't go well in any way, shape, or form, we need you to let us know your name, when you called, what other information would be helpful so you can make sure that if something went wrong, whether it's a human error or a computer error, that it can be fixed.
Like you said, your name, the location, the time, the date. With that, we can just look it up in the system. And I just want to stress that this training is ongoing about not repeatedly asking for cross streets. I want to make that clear. Every single call we answer, we ask for cross streets. So if you call from Roosevelt Island here, we're still going to ask for cross streets because we ask, if you handle 100, 200 calls a day, that is what you're doing constantly. If I drive to work, I drive to work the same way every single day. I'm going to make that left turn. Even when I'm not going to work, I might end up making a left turn where I'm going. It's ingrained in them. So, but we will remind them that once you explain, it's Roosevelt Island, that's it, and it pops up on the box. Okay, so I don't want people calling 911 and then saying, the 911 operator still asked for the cross streets. You have to realize that they're handling a couple of hundred phone calls a day. They have a process for every single call. It's to ask the location. After you get the location, you ask for the cross streets. So just be aware, but we're going to refresh them, remind them of the uniqueness of Roosevelt Island. Okay, so I'm not coming here to promise something, and I want to be clear about exactly what's happening.
Could you just give us a list of common areas of Roosevelt Island that input it so that we can at least make sure that
Okay.
the names that we...
Well, I could discuss this after the meeting, and I would definitely want to offline.
Thank you for your patience.
Every single building on Roosevelt Island has a name, just like all the buildings in Cornell Tech will have names that you'll input in your system. So wouldn't it be very helpful if you input the names that correspond with those addresses? So people can say, I'm in Roosevelt Landers, or I'm in River Cross, or I'm in Island House. It would give you an extra measure of coordinating, to make sure.
I can work again with Susan Rosenthal and Jack McManus, and we could look at these. If we feel that this will help, we could put it in as a secondary. But I still would want everybody to give the address because that's what they're trained to ask for, and it would be helpful. But I'll explore that and see if we can, work on that. I'll speak with them after this meeting.
As Marian said before, we've been through this many, many times. We just happened this year. We went on a tour of 911, and it's the same thing. We're going to train people. They're going to, and I said we've been doing this for years, where we're going to train people, and they're not going to ask. And I don't put the burden on them. You have turnover, and they're handling that volume of call. It's a very simple fix, computer-wise. If you type something in, it tells you don't recognize the password when you type in the wrong thing.
Maybe
You
just
can
get some
very
signs out in
easily, if
the
you say,
street.
where's the emergency, which is the first question, as soon as you put in Roosevelt Island, the system could instantly give you an error message that says, no cross streets, ask for an address, and then pull up all the address, and let the system do the work, and not let the people have to remember or the training, because we are an anomaly. That's a real easy little thing to do in a system. And maybe we point out just a box that says, here you go, Roosevelt Island, this is what you have to ask.
Okay.
Tell the marketers, depending on what the answer is, it goes to a different point in the decision tree.
Okay, I could explain, and the system does work like that. I'll just explain. If you give a bad address, it's going to pop up and say it's an invalid address. The system will not accept that. So it has to be a valid address. Every address has cross streets inputted. That's why that question is followed up. But the address does have to be valid, otherwise it will not accept it.
That's not what I'm saying. If the system has the capability of doing that, why can't it do it when they put in Roosevelt Island?
Oh, I explained. I thought I was maybe, let me repeat it. Now when you put the address in, it will pop up.
Before we get to the address, nobody's going to know. I'm in an emergency. I have to call. They'll say to me, 911, where's the emergency? I'm going to say Roosevelt Island. You're then going to ask me for a
Okay, but Roosevelt...
Quality on the training. No, it's something that's measurable in what you just said. Because you're not adapting to this, okay, you go through a rigid process. It's not adapting to the situation. You have poor operational quality based on mistakes.
The training stands for cross.
So they're asking whether or not the system can just say.
I guess
Okay, so your question was the system. It's not the system that queues the cross streets. They're required to. So it's not like the
I
computer.
understand that. I'm saying I want the system to stop them before they do it. As soon as they get Roosevelt Island, let the system say, no cross street, ask for an address, as a big old message there. And then once the address is in, then we go into was the address correct or not.
Why can't they do that?
We're still going to have to ask for the address. You can't just say Roosevelt Island. So okay, I understand. I just don't think that that's the most efficient way. I think we're wasting more time. We could discuss this. I've listened to calls. If everybody just answers and says Roosevelt Island, now we have to go back to asking the address anyway. We're refreshing our call takers. Let me just explain, because clearly I'm not being clear, because a lot of people are not agreeing with me or confused.
So sorry. Okay, so give me 3 seconds. So when you said Roosevelt Island, you don't mean that, you just mean when somebody gives an address on Roosevelt Island, it should...
Anything Roosevelt Island, whether it's a full address or it's
Okay, so the person gives so somebody gives
Yes.
555 Main Street, and then can the system, just as if it was a bad address, say, no cross street needed?
It's not, I understand what you're saying, and you keep thinking I'm not understanding the
sorry.
question.
Sorry.
Our call takers are trained to always ask for the cross streets. You have to realize that we handle 10 million calls a year. We handle 25,000 a day. That is, they might not have a call for Roosevelt Island for months. So,
If you were able in the last few days to be able to have Roosevelt Island pop up when 591 Main Street goes in.
Yeah.
Next to that Roosevelt Island could be the words "No cross streets," which might then alleviate.
no, well, the simple answer is no. The cross streets have to be there, and we did look into that. So that's a very simple answer that I should have. But like I said, I was explaining, but no, that's not possible. The cross streets pop up, and we were not able to change the cross streets.
No, I'm not.
Or not even put Roosevelt Island. We were unable to put
But you were
Roosevelt
able to
Island
get Roosevelt Island.
under the remarks. If I showed you the computer system,
So under the remarks, could you have no cross streets also under the remarks?
we could look into that.
Okay.
We could look into it. Yeah. But no, but you still don't. We still have to ask the address, and it's.
Marge, this change can be made.
So thank you to President Susan Rosenthal.
You
and
can do that.
Sorry for the frustration.
Yeah. I wanted to add one thing, that the inspector has, I will tell you this, the inspector has been fabulous, NYPD has been great, fire department has been great, EMS has been great since we've been reaching out to them, which was about a month ago. We actually were banging down their doors, and they have really come, and as you see, they've come tonight. The inspector has promised us that they have other enhancements that they're going to do to the system to try to make it even better. We're going to suggest a lot of other things to them. And he has promised that he's going to come back here. And I'm not going to hold him to a date, but he said it's going to be soon. He's going to come back here, present the enhancements that he's been able to accomplish to the date that he comes back, and answer all of your questions regarding those changes. So I'd like to just thank everybody who's come to.
Thank you to REACT President Susan Rosenthal. So it's 8 o'clock, so I'm going to let our FDNY, NYPD, OEM folks go home. I had hoped to try to get them out sooner. I thought it would be a little bit quicker. For folks who need to get out and vote, please do so. I'm just going to give a quick report for other folks. So I'm your councilman.